is a really exciting review for me because I have been proven wrong. I didn't think I'd ever be excited about being proven wrong, but you know what? When it comes to books, I just always want to be pleased. And the last book I read by this author was incredibly disappointing, and so I had very low expectations, and I didn't even think I would get to this book because the first one I read of hers was so bad. But you know what? I read it in like a day. I started it yesterday morning and I finished it this morning. So yes, it's a very fresh review. Towards the end, surprisingly, is when I kind of lost interest. But on the whole, win-win! Jennifer E. Smith, thank you so much for providing me a book that I couldn't put down. On that note, I'm talking about This Is What Happy Looks Like. If you've seen my review of her other book, I was disappointed by the quality of writing, and I felt like that reflected in her world building and her characterizations and in her plot development. And this one, it hit all those notes. This Is What Happy Looks Like. It revolves around two teenagers who meet over the internet. He accidentally emails her, and they have been exchanging emails for a few months before he ends up coming to where she is. Why is that? Because he is a movie star. He's an actor, and he is filming a movie, and he's like, why don't we go to Maine? Because I want to meet her. She does not know who he is. He really doesn't know who she is. All they know are their email addresses and that they get along. And so they go about exploring their relationship. But honestly, it's more about them as people. His name is Graham and her name is Ellie. Part of the description is that she has this deep, dark, familial secret, which that is probably the part of the book that I felt was the least effective spoiler, which it's not really that big of a spoiler because we learn it pretty quickly. Her dad is a senator. However, when he met her mother, he was already married, and he is still married, and so she has nothing to do with him. But the thing is, with politics, we have to keep our skeletons in the closet, so her mother decided to pack up and leave DC for Maine and basically break off all ties with him. She also is afraid of being in the public eye, and so the entire, basically in all of Ellie's life, they have kept her paternity a secret. Nobody knows who her father is, and they just want to lie low, which makes it difficult for her to date an actor, an A-list celebrity, because who follows celebrities? Paparazzi! When she does find out that Graham is her pen pal, what I liked about that is how level-headed she was. She's so normal throughout the entire book. I do like that she never gets sucked into that vortex. So she finds out that he has been her pen pal, and she's like, I mean, that's cool that you're a celebrity, but what do I do with that? It did change who he was in her eyes at first, but then she came to see that he was still the same person she'd been emailing. However, her biggest issue was that there would be no anonymity. Although it really felt like it was more her mother's issue, and then her mother imposed this on her. And so he is in Maine for a month to shoot. And basically they only have the first week before she essentially breaks it off, and then for 3 more weeks they have nothing to do with each other, and then it all ties up in the end. Which I do also have a little bit of an issue with, because their relationship and our ties to are basically predicated on their past interactions. Like, the strength of their bond has more to do with stuff that we never actually saw than what we actually get to experience with them. It's not really about their relationship. It's about how his life has changed since becoming a celebrity, whether it's because of the world that he is now part of versus the world that he used to be part of, as well as the loss of relationships. Like, he now doesn't really have much to do with his family. And then with her, it's about her father. Now that she has come face to face with the possibility of her face being splashed all the newspapers, she has to deal with, well, how do I feel about keeping this secret and about not having had anything to do with my father as I grew up? And what do I feel in terms of my mother? Did she think that it was the right idea to hide this from everybody and to have completely cut her father out of her life, or have let her mother dictate that? There's a little side story about her being a poet, and she has been accepted into a summer program at Harvard, but she can't afford it. And so towards the end of the book, she does try to seek out her father in order to get that money. I thought that one, I didn't quite buy it. It was very, very small. And I think what bothered me was that I wish it had been bigger. I wish that she had really sought him out, really tried to come to terms with things on her own. It felt more like a side note, but I'll get into that in a minute. Before I get into plot, I want to talk about how I felt with Hello, Goodbye, and Everything in Between. I felt really removed from the main character, and I did not like the approach, the narration approach that Smith took. But in this one, again, it was third person, and maybe, I don't know, I was going to say maybe it was because instead of just showing everything from one perspective, she alternated between Ellie and Graham. That made it more effective. But you know what? I felt in that other book that I liked the male lead more than I liked the actual point of view character. But I just, like, yes, this one, Ellie had layers, and I felt like I connected to her emotionally. I was just so pleased. And also, with Hello, Goodbye, and Everything in Between, she had formatted the novel with each chapter taking place in a different setting that was supposed to be special to the relationship, and it didn't quite work. The setting did not feel like an extra character in the story. It felt like it was there because they needed somewhere to be, but in This Is What Happy Looks Like, the town felt like a character. The town felt relevant. It felt like a real place that I wanted to go. It was like hanging out somewhere during the summer. Even secondary characters like her best friend Quinn. I wish I could have gotten a little bit more of that friendship, but again, this book is not about the friendship. This book is about the relationship. But I felt that even Quinn, despite her very minor role, I want to say important, but she wasn't really important, but she did feel fully fleshed and important for her own reason. And that reason being, she and Ellie are best friends. They don't keep secrets, but then as soon as Graham comes to town and Ellie has to then reevaluate this whole thing with her father, she starts to keep secrets. She has been keeping secrets from her mother because she knows her mother will not like the fact that Ellie could get her picture taken and be in the newspapers. And then she's keeping things from Quinn because Quinn did not know that Ellie had been emailing with anybody. I mean, it's not like anybody even knew that Ellie and Graham were emailing each other because they're just anonymous. But, you know, it was this idea that Ellie had been keeping secrets and Quinn was like, that's not who you are. And so then there was an issue there and they had to work through their friendship. So I just thought there were a lot of elements that provided more depth to this novel than Hello and Goodbye. And that is what kept me reading. As far as storyline and plot, let me remember where I started from. I had been talking about her dad. What bothered me about that is he plays such an important role in their desire to live anonymous lives, and then that leads into her mother pressuring Ellie into not pursuing a relationship with Graham. So then Ellie does. She stops it. She cuts it off. But then she learns that he is going to be nearby for the 4th of July. So her intent is to seek him out and ask him for money. So then she and Graham, maybe I'll remember to touch on that, they make their way to where her father is, and her plan is to go to his house and approach him there. I guess have some kind of reunion, some magical reunion. But the reality is they run into him at a meet and greet. The town is having a clam bake or whatever Maine towns do for the 4th of July. But so he's there meeting constituents because I guess a plan is to run for president. It doesn't really matter. Anyways, so she shakes his hand and that's it. She doesn't say anything to him, and in the end, both she and Graham realize the intent was never to get money from him, but was just to see him, to meet him, to have him see her, even though he doesn't recognize her. That's it? I mean, I wasn't miffed about the fact that she can get money from him, because in the end, Graham paid for it, which, not a big surprise. But I was like, there was this huge buildup about her father and her feelings for her father, and then she just lets it go. I guess we're supposed to assume that now that, because there was a point where the paparazzi ambushed Graham and Ellie, and so then they are finally publicized. Their relationship is publicized, and then her background comes to light. So I guess we're supposed to assume that now that everything is out in the open, she will pursue something with her father. She will tie up those loose ends in her life. But I just wanted more, because I felt like that was a really important part of her storyline, which then leads me back to her mother. I liked Ellie because she felt like an individual. She felt like somebody. Yes, she might be shy and not great with people, but she felt like somebody who knew what she wanted. Yet, her entire life, she let her mother dictate this. And maybe because I'm not well versed in the art of family secrets, I just couldn't buy her letting her mother have that kind of control over her. Also, it's touted as being, let me find it. I couldn't find it. I don't know where I saw the blurb. Obviously, it's not in the dust jacket. But this mystery behind her parentage or her family is touted as something like super significant. And while it is to her, it's not in the grand scheme of the plot. A lot of times when the secret comes out, it blows up in the character's face, it ruins relationships, I mean, sometimes temporarily, sometimes permanently, but it is a major thing. In this one, so Graham the entire time is being discouraged by his manager from starting a relationship with Ellie because the manager thinks he needs to do something with his co-star. Part of his attempt to discourage Graham's pursuit of Ellie is giving him a packet of information on Ellie's background. As I had already read the end of the novel, I was pretty sure this was not going to be a negative turning point, especially because there wasn't much left of the novel. So there wasn't going to be much time for him to be so angry that he completely cuts her out of his life and goes back home to LA and then, has the epiphany that he loves her and comes back. Like, I knew there wasn't going to be time for that. But I was just like, why was this such a big secret? I felt like it was a secret for the mother. She was being selfish. And, that, I guess, my negative feelings about this can't be bad. Because what I felt like Hello Goodbye lacked was tension. And so it did create tension. Like, I have always been a reader who hates characters who don't communicate, and therefore bad things happen because of that. Like, hello, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Love it. But holy cow, it drives me crazy because I'm like, all of your problems are because nobody talks to each other. My problems come from the fact that there is no communication. But the mother just says, like, I wanted to cut this out of my life, so therefore we both have to cut this out of our lives, and we have to completely ignore it for the next, 14 years, and now that the possibility of it coming back to our lives is here, I'm going to tell you, you can have nothing to do with this boy, and then Ellie's just going to go along with it. All of that creates tension in the novel because we want our heroines to be together. So it's not bad, it's good. It's like no press is bad press, but this is cyclical, all right? So we're going to move on. I feel like I've really touched a lot of the plot. As I said, he had come to town for the movie because she had let it slip where she was from. So when they were location scouting, this is what he suggested. He basically made it happen so he could meet her. There was some initial confusion in that he thought that Quinn, Ellie's best friend, was Ellie, but almost immediately he realized she was not Ellie. And so I actually kind of liked that. And I was sort of sad that the confusion was cleared up so quickly. That goes towards tension, and you're like, hello, it's the wrong girl. And then you watch Ellie, I mean, even though she doesn't care about the celebrity, but you know she's on the sideline not knowing that this is, you know, her, not true love, but like this is her man. Like, you know, she's the one that he's been talking to. But obviously, if you have any friends or if you've ever dated anybody, like, you know them. And so it's going to be apparent pretty quickly that, you know, the person you've mistaken is not the person that you are looking for, because you're like, they love chocolate when the person that I'm in love with hates chocolate, you know, those little things. As I said, I did lose interest towards the end. I don't know if it's because I was tired or if I really felt like it was slow, but I guess I was definitely more emotionally invested in them than the stress of her family history coming to light or about how his manager was going to handle damage control. So I didn't really care about all that. I didn't care, like, in their attempt to go find her father. I just really didn't care about them being on the boat and the challenges of getting to the correct town. Honestly, like, I didn't even read much about when they got to the town until the father was right in the picture. Even after that, I was sort of skimming. I guess all these heart-to-hearts with her mother. Were they irrelevant to the story? They were good. I just lost interest. I guess it was the last 2 or 3 chapters. I got back into it and I finished, and here we are. Yeah, happy reading. I can't wait to get back with another book. Well, I say that, but who knows really how I'm going to feel. See ya!